Of course, I'm going to focus on Hurricane Sandy, but I also want to address weather conditions across the rest of the lower 48 as well as parts of Canada and into northern Mexico. Hope this Monday is treating you well so far, and thankfully there's not much weather to talk about, at least across the western two-thirds of the country, since we have a solid ridge of high pressure that is centered right now over the Rockies, helping to spill in some clouds into parts of the northern Rockies and into the northern plains. It's actually Pacific moisture, some high clouds that are ultimately attached to a low-pressure system that's slamming into the Pacific Northwest, providing some rain showers from Washington State downstream, heading eastward into the state of Montana. But of course, a lot of people talking about Hurricane Sandy, and rightfully so, as this major system right here is potentially going to impact as many as 60 million people into the northeast U.S. You can see right now the center of the storm is actually about 200 miles to the southeast of New Jersey and should make landfall sometime this evening across southern New Jersey. And I'll talk about the track of the system over the next few days. But let's focus, at least right now, on the rainfall. And of course, we'll address the agricultural impacts of the system. And right now, on a rural TV radar showing us a huge shield of rainfall that stretches as far west as Kentucky and Ohio, at least at this hour. And as we take a look more closely into parts of the mid-Atlantic states, you can see heavy rainfall depicted by some of the red and yellow colors here, slamming across parts of Maryland and now heading into parts of central Virginia at this time, just off to the southwest of Washington, D.C. But no matter what, you're facing some heavy rains and also some sustained winds, easily 30 to 50 miles per hour. As we head farther west, as these winds are slamming inland, some of these winds are being forced up the slopes of the eastern side of the Smokies, and unfortunately that is causing what we call orographic precipitation, where winds are lifted into the atmosphere and we're cooling that air mass down, eventually cranking out some snows. In fact, we have blizzard warnings that remain in effect until a part of Wednesday for eastern West Virginia, as we're looking at some snowfall totals between 1 and 3 feet for some elevations 3,000 feet and higher. So certainly not a good situation. And remember, this time of the year, as we're enjoying the fall colors, still a lot of leaves on the trees. So power outage is certainly another prospect for parts of West Virginia and western Virginia itself. And we're seeing that big shield of rainfall stretching from Long Island through New Jersey all the way westward into Ohio, Michigan, and also into parts of southeastern Ontario. Some of the precipitation as you head a little bit farther north into the eastern part of Ontario, coming down in the form of snow. On a separate note, spotty light snow showers coming to an end across parts of central northern Minnesota. And again, that next Pacific storm system providing some scattered showers anywhere from southern British Columbia through Washington State downstream, heading into Montana. Let's focus on, by the way, our rainfall totals so far, and very impressive rainfall amounts according to our rural TV radar estimates, where you see some of the red colors, 6 to 8 inches only over the past 24 hours. So we're dialing back to 11 a.m. Central Time across parts of Maryland and also the Delmarva Peninsula. So we're looking at some flash flooding conditions likely with the storm coming on shore, and of course that will have a huge impact across some of the farmlands of the mid-Atlantic states into the northeast. Right now, maximum sustained winds actually at 90 miles per hour, and we begin the distinction up to a Category 2 status beginning at 96 miles per hour. So I'm implying this is a very dangerous Category 1 storm. It should make landfall this evening in southern New Jersey, just to the south of Atlantic City based on the current track. And the center of the storm should be into southeastern Pennsylvania by 7 o'clock tomorrow morning. Notice how slowly it drifts across the Keystone State, heading into New York by the time Wednesday morning rolls around. So because of that, we'll still be under the influence of some very strong winds, very heavy rains. And as we head towards Thursday, the system will just casually drift northward into northern New York State. And finally, we'll be caught up into the Canadian Maritimes once we head towards Saturday and Sunday. So lots of wind, lots of rain potential, and easily over a half foot of rainfall into spots of Pennsylvania, Maryland, Delmarva Peninsula, New Jersey, and also 3 to 6 inches of rainfall across parts of northern New England. So again, flooding is a huge threat from the storm as we head through the next few days. Focusing into the Pacific Northwest, also that lifting that'll be happening near the Cascades will force 3 to 6 inches of total rainfall from northwest California through western Oregon and into Washington State, but not a drop of rain in the forecast across the central part of the U.S. and also the southern half of the country. And unfortunately, that will continue our drought conditions as we're looking at a lack of topsoil moisture, where you see the red colors anywhere from Nebraska all the way southwest into California, Arizona, New Mexico, and anywhere between South Carolina and Florida. And unfortunately, near normal topsoil moisture conditions across much of the northeast U.S., and any additional rain will cause some flooding issues there. Temperatures, quick check right now, 40s across parts of the northern plains, some 50s still along the Gulf Coast. And forecast for this afternoon, of course, Hurricane Sandy, lots of rain and wind for the northeast, and we'll see some scattered showers from Washington State eastward into Montana. No rain, just sunshine across the plains here. Tuesday's weather map here, we'll be looking at what will be called post-tropical cyclone Sandy, essentially a lot of rain and wind that'll continue from the Ohio Valley through New England, and we'll see some scattered showers and storms still across Washington State. And once we head into Wednesday, more rain and wind scheduled for the northeast into the eastern Great Lakes and the Ohio Valley. Forecast highs for this afternoon will be quite interesting in the northeast. Sandy will be pinwheeling some 60s into New England and flushing in some 40s across the Ohio Valley and also parts of the mid-Atlantic states. But we'll see some 50s and 60s this afternoon in the Central Plains, 70s across Florida, and we'll also be looking at some 70s into Texas, some 80s in parts of the desert Southwest. I'll be here all day keeping an eye on Sandy for you, but coming up next, Mark Oppold's also keeping an eye on our markets for you. He'll give you an update after this break as Market Day Report continues after this.